What's up, everybody? So I thought I'd talk a little bit about bits storage. I recently purchased these things. If you go on Amazon and go to bits and type in bits and bolts, whatever, you'll find stuff like this for purchase. The one in front I've had for easily a decade. It's got no name on it. I don't know exactly where it came from. I came across a set. I don't want to say a set, but a decent number of these, so I scooped them up. And I have no idea how to actually get this because I wouldn't want something like this. I would want exact copies of this if I want to get more, because the partition on here goes all the way to the top. It's locked in place and it works very well for sorting bits. This is probably for small tools and screws and whatnot, bits and bolts. So it's meant to hold bolts and screws for the big one. And I want to go over this. I think I did something like this in the past, but I want to go over it again because I want to talk about these big ones and the fact that as you get more involved with this hobby, you're going to have sprues pile up. Not every kit builds 100%. What I mean by that is the sprue that you might have for whatever kit, doesn't matter if it's Necron, Tau, whatever, you're going to have extra bits on sprues left over. If you're like me, or I want to say the majority, but I just don't know. I know me and a buddy of mine are like this, but I don't know how many people are like this or if we're just the weird ones. I can't bring myself to throw out bits. If I have a sprue and it's got some stuff left on it, I keep it because I paid for that bit. Right? I don't want to throw it out. It seems like a waste. Maybe I can use it for basing or for kit bashing, customizing, stuff like that. And I did a lot of kit bashing. I have fantasy kits that I don't even need at all, that I taken some pieces out of, bits wise, and used to fun effect for models that I no longer have. But it was fun, it was worth it, it was cool, I enjoyed it. And those bits can still be useful, a lot of them, for doing some kit bashing as well. So all that stuff I want to condense down. If you're not careful, it will become a mountain of sprues. And I'm trying, now that I have this mountain, to try and break it down, condense it, and make things neater and a little more organized. So that's why stuff like this is important. These really caught my eye because the depth to them and the fact that not everything can fit in something like this. These are great for infantry pieces, for sure. But when you get towards dreadnoughts, vehicles, other walkers, monstrous creatures, bits are going to become a little too cumbersome to fit in here properly. I like them, but it's just a fact of size. These are a nice size. They got a good mouth in them to put stuff in. Of course, you can take this lid off if you need to even put wider things in than that mouth. They're decently tall. So as you can see, this has some Necron stuff, like the floating barge type bits in here, and it fits in rather nicely. Some of it's glued together, some of it's not. I'll get back to that in a moment. What I like about these, I got a dozen of them, is that the feet, the little pads here, don't lock in like a Lego or anything up here, but it finds purchase, so it sits stable. It provides a stable way for it to stack on each other. So while you can easily take it off or bump it off if you're not careful, if you have a dedicated little workspace, you can have some of these stacked up and not take up a lot of room and have bits readily available. Also, if you're doing scenery, terrain, I think these will work out really well for storing, styrofoam cutoffs or other things you use. And I know I only do it for bits predominantly because I haven't made custom terrain or anything. Truly, I've done basing with the concept of how a terrain person would do things, but I know a lot of terrain people say they kind of become hoarders because, hey, this can be cool terrain. This can be a nice way to store some of that bulky stuff rather easily. You can also store modeling sand, different size grain of sand together, pebbles, whatever you use for basing, flock, static grass. You can take it out of containers. Now, some of the containers they come in are fine and stackable and great. Others come in bags. So you can open up that bag, dump everything in here, get rid of that bag. This seals. It's very nice, stable, stackable, and it can also help out in gaining control of all the stuff you hoard for terrain making and even basing and kit bashing and making the collecting process your own. So I just thought I'd share that because I bought these on a whim just to see how it would work. I got a dozen of them. It was like $40-ish, which isn't cheap, sure, but it works out to being right around $4 after you factor in the final cost. I forget exactly, $4 per, actually less than that. And I've used like 3 of them or 4 of them. They're not full. This is the fullest one of them, of the bunch. But I've already broken down 2 boxes. Like not big boxes, like kit boxes. Which is great. Because sprue's gone, bits are intact and preserved, and clutter is slowly, painstakingly slowly, getting under control. Which is great. I like that. And I think that's important for the hobby. Don't let the clutter get out of control. Now, this piece here is glued together from 2 pieces. If I remember correctly, I glued it because I'm like, okay, I can glue these 2 pieces together, they won't get lost from each other, and I can continue building this later on, or adding to this with no problem. I like to partially build what I can. I have this is dark anneal specifically, so I haven't done it, but I have something like this for standard Starte stuff, and even standard Terminator stuff, and the torsos, the front and the back pieces of Firstborn, I put those together. I glue them together because I'm going to need to anyway. Their 2 smaller pieces makes one slightly bigger piece, and now that I don't risk losing half of what I need to build that torso, and it stores it nicely, and I get to condense down that sprue. You just don't want to build too much, right? I just build the barrels, or like each part of the double or the twin link piece here. I didn't fully build everything that I needed to build because it would become too cumbersome to put in here. So just be careful if you're going to do the partial assembly to store things. It's a nice idea, it works, but just be careful you don't overbuild it. And this is predominantly for condensing down sprue once you use the kits, because like I said, a lot of these kits, particularly Space Marine stuff, but even Necrons and Mechanicum, you have weapon options, arms, partial models that you just don't end up using because you build it a certain way. And like I said, I can't bring myself to throw it out. So this should be a nice solution in conjunction with what I have here to allow me to further condense down my sprues and, you know, regain actual square footage of floor space back, which I really, really want to. So I'll do a follow-up to that as I regain more space, I guess, just as a random follow-up to kind of talk about how the storage is going. But plenty of ways to store your bits. This is what I come across. This, which I don't even know where it originally came from, but these are from Amazon. If you search bits and bolts, you'll find some of this bits and bolts storage or whatever. You'll find stuff like this and others out there. Plenty of different solutions for storing bits. But definitely worth a shot. And worth considering if you're newer to collecting. If it's your first army and you just got partial way through it, you probably notice bits are starting to add up. Find a way to store it effectively, securely, with some type of order to that chaos of just random sprues, and you'll be so much better off the sooner you do that. That's my thoughts anyway. So with that said, what do you use to store your bits? Are you like me? Can you not bring yourself to throw out the extra bits you don't need after building a kit or something? I just can't bring myself to do it because they look cool, and that kind of hoarder aspect, I'm not a hoarder at all, but for this stuff, it's kind of like the back of my brain goes, keep it, you might use it later. So how are you with that? Can you bring yourself to throw it out no problem, or are you like me? In any case, bit of a random ramble, but hey, useful perhaps. Thanks very much for tuning in and stopping by, and until next time, take it easy.